What's up everyone, Darcblade back, returning with my Mass Effect 3 multiplayer class guide. Today we are jumping forward again and taking a look at one of the Earth DLC characters, the N7 Destroyer. This guy is a tank of a class. This is one of the guys that relies on having good weapons rather than a quick recharge timer. Now, for all my characters, I spec them for the harder difficulties. The N7 Destroyer has 3 new unique moves. I'll go into them in more details, but at the moment I spec the Destroyer as follows. In Devastator Mode, I put points into max shields, as you are likely to take damage as you are firing so much in this mode. I put points into rate of fire as well, because this will do more outward damage. Magazine size is okay, but with the fact that you're popping in and out of cover, you might want to do fire rate. Lastly, I put points in weapon accuracy over shield recharge delay, because I feel this is a bigger bonus and a better bonus for this character. The second ability that the N7 Destroyer has is Missile Launcher. Now for this I put points into Cobra Missile rather than Hydra Missile, as I feel a single hard hitting missile is more beneficial, especially on the harder difficulties. For the next points I put the points into Refire Timer. Both talents are good here. Armoured opponents take more damage from the armor damage, but against everyone the refire timer is quite beneficial. And lastly, I put the points into damage and force to increase the overall damage of the missiles. The third and final ability is multi-frag grenades. Now I haven't really gone and specced into these fully. I wanted to spec a bit into them to show you what they're like, but I personally do not like to have to rely on running to ammo boxes all the time to restock my grenades. As for the N7 Destroyer's 2 passive abilities, I tried to max them out for most weapon damage, as weight reduction does not matter at all with this guy, and I go for fitness and shields. Fitness and shields as always, because on the harder difficulties you do kind of need these, and this guy can have a lot of health and shields. As for weaponry, I like to go with a high rate of fire assault rifle. The Revenant is a good choice, but I like to go with the N7 Typhoon. This is a new gun that came with the Earth DLC, and it is a great gun to accompany this class. You can also equip yourself with a backup weapon no matter what weight it is, because this guy does not rely on having a fast recharge timer at all. There are multiple builds for this character. Of course I've gone with the one that I feel is best. You can potentially change the build you want to max out the multi-frag grenades and completely leave out the missile launcher, but I feel it's better to go with the missile launcher. Anyway, let's get into the meat of the episode and talk about the N7 Destroyer's main moves and abilities. The first move that it has is a new move to the game called Devastator Mode. This mode is activated as soon as you press the button and will stay active until you manually turn it off. Devastator Mode is a beast of the mode. You'll know you've got it active because your character will glow a little bit red. There will also appear a sort of radar in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, knowing that you've got it on. Like I said, Devastator Mode is a beast of a mode. It increases 3 major stats for the N7 Destroyer. It basically increases the amount of weapon damage you do, your rate of fire, and your magazine size. So basically you'll have more bullets in your gun. It does come with one noticeable downside, which it really decreases your movement speed, but this is not too big a deal, as in emergencies, if you do have to get away, you can turn the mode off if you really must. With Devastator Mode, the N7 Destroyer is a class that is pretty much great with any weapon, but like I said at the start of the video, I feel they are personally best when they are given a weapon like an assault rifle that has already a high rate of fire. This is because with the increased bonus you get from Devastator Mode, you're going to be spewing out bullets at an incredible speed. Most of the guns that have a high rate of fire already have a substantial capacity and magazine clip size, and with Devastator Mode this increases this even more so, which is, I feel, is really great. Potentially you could be good with any weapon with this class, but I feel that with Devastator Mode the assault rifles have the most to benefit. One tactic I find with the N7 Destroyer and Devastator Mode is to slightly hide behind the front man. Never be the front man yourself, because you can dish out a hell of a lot of damage with the right equipment and right guns from not having to keep popping in and out of cover. The longer you're able to keep firing, stay out in the open like a turret, the more damage you will be doing, and this should help your team complete any goal. The second ability that the N7 Destroyer has is Missile Launcher. This is not as great as the missile launchers you'll get in the packs and that, so don't be expecting to take out waves of troops with one blast, unfortunately. This is instead a single small missile launcher that is attached to the right shoulder of the N7 Destroyer. It glows red and there's a spinny red circle going around the bottom end of the missile launcher when you have this activated. Again, like Devastator Mode, this is an ability that once you've activated it, it will always be active until you manually deactivate it yourself. The missile launcher itself is a small missile launcher that will continuously fire automatically on its own. You don't have to press anything to actually fire the missiles themselves. Once you have it activated, they will fire on their own, as long as you're aiming at someone, of course. Now, some people prefer not to put any points into the missile launcher because it does have a noticeable disadvantage, and that is once the missile launcher is activated, it reduces your shield slightly. But on the other hand, I see it as a continuous source of damage. Some people tend to leave missile launcher and put their points into the multi-frag grenades. This is fine, of course, but I personally prefer to have my points in the missile launcher, as the missile launcher never needs to be reloaded. You never have to run to ammo boxes to look for more grenades. The missile launcher is always there and will always be firing. The third and final ability that the N7 Destroyer has is the multi-frag grenades. These are like the frag grenades that the human soldier has, except it fires a whole bunch of them and does a lot of damage. This is a really nice ability, but like with all grenades, they do come with one major downside that I feel is a bit of a hindrance sometimes, and that is they have limited ammunition. There is a limited supply of them, and you have to keep constantly running to the ammo boxes to resupply your grenades. And on the harder difficulties, the amount of grenades that are actually resupplied are so little, it's actually a little bit more of a hindrance than a benefit. There are some ways, of course, to counteract the low supply of grenades. One way would be to equip a gear slot that allows for more grenades, for example the Warfighter package or the actual increased grenade capacity. Another way would be to have your defensive stands and your defensive positions near ammo boxes so you can keep running back and forward to them. And lastly, if you have an N7 Demolisher in your team, you can occasionally pick up grenades from their supply pylons. Like I said, the grenades do a lot of damage themselves. They can also be used to set off combos, both biotic and tech, which are really useful. The multi-frag grenades seem to be at their best when used on a cluster of enemies, when there are a large group of them coming out of a corridor or congregating around something. Then the multi-frag grenades are at their best. The N7 Destroyer's melee abilities are basically boiled down to two moves. It has a fairly quick, slow, normal melee, which is a bit similar to the Cerberus Operative's melee, and it has a strong, heavy melee, which is an AoE effect stomp, basically hitting anyone around them. It's not the strongest and it is quite slow, so melee isn't always the best option with this character. As for the N7 Destroyer's passive abilities, the T5V battlesuit, I go for weapon damage, because you don't have to actually worry about reducing the weight of your weapons. You can basically equip the heaviest weapons, because this class is more reliant on weapons than having a fast recharge timer. So getting the most damage out of these is optimal. As for the T5V internal system, basically the fitness, I go for health and shields. On the higher difficulties, these are far more beneficial, and the N7 Destroyer does have some high health and shields compared to some of the other N7 classes out there. As for weaponry, like I said at the start of the video, I like to use the N7 Typhoon or Revenant, depending on what's available to you. But saying that, the N7 Destroyer is good with pretty much any weapon. As a backup, I like to use a shotgun because it's good for close range combat situations. So that is the N7 Destroyer in a nutshell. It is a great damage dealing class and a welcome addition to anyone attempting the harder difficulties who need a class that can dish out a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Whether or not you prefer the missile launcher or the multi-frag grenades, this is still a nice class to play. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my guide to the N7 Destroyer and Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.